I'm going to be talking to you about extreme creativity. And as I go through this talk, there's going to be some of these things that I hope will provoke you to think. Okay? Some of the things that I might talk about you might disagree with, some things you may agree with. Okay? But it's here to talk, to provoke you into thinking about how can we be even more creative to create an even better world for us all to actually live in. Now, we've already heard that you're all massively creative. In fact, you've demonstrated it all with your brilliant musical ability, etc. But many of you, I suspect, have already been subjected to what we call creativity tools. These are the things that are designed to actually help us to be more creative. So, hands up who's ever been in a brainstorming session. Oh yeah, lots of people been in a brainstorming session. Brainstorming is a creativity tool. Okay, it's designed to get us thinking in those different ways. There are lots. There are hundreds. Okay, De Bono came up with 6 thinking hats. Okay, there are random words. Okay, there are related words. There are fresh eyes. There are even now online versions of creativity tools, and they're there to help us to unleash the creativity that's actually inside of us. Because the problem is, unlike when we're little, unlike when we're children, where creativity just bubbles out of us, okay, what we find as we become more sensible, okay, maybe some of us and some of us not, as we become adults, and we get into situations and circumstances like work and running families and doing sensible things like that and paying the mortgage, sometimes our creativity gets blocked. Okay, and creativity tools are designed to unleash it, okay, to take us back to those sort of free ways of when we are children, okay? And they work a bit like a very old-fashioned telephone operator, okay? Now, so young people may not even know, young people in the audience may not even know what this woman actually does. So in the olden days, you used to have to phone up the operator and can I be connected through to this person? And she would literally connect you through to the telephone of that particular person. Okay? Imagine a creativity tool is like a wild, out-of-control operator who just decides, I'm going to randomly connect all these different people together. And that's what creativity tools are all about. They're designed to give you stimulus, but they're especially designed to break existing patterns of thinking. And by breaking existing patterns of thinking, you can actually think new thoughts. You make new connections and begin your creative process. Patterns of thinking are the enemy of creativity. Established patterns of thinking. We can only do this, and we can only do this one way. Those words are the enemy of creativity. The problem is, we as human beings are brilliant at creating those, at establishing these patterns of thinking. And the reason is because they're really helpful, actually. They're very helpful in actually running our day-to-day lives. So imagine, okay, I don't know about you, but when I get up in the morning, I have a little bit of a routine, and it's been the routine of mine over many, many, many years. You get up, okay, you go into the shower, you shower probably well, for me anyway, in exactly the same way, different parts of your body in exactly the same order. You come out of the shower, you get dressed in exactly the same way. And those are helpful patterns. Imagine if every single morning we woke up and we decided we're going to do it in a completely creative way. No, I'm going to jump in the shower in my pajamas, and then I'm going to come to work half in my pajamas, and life would be very difficult if every single day we decided we were going to take it to some creative extreme. So it's helpful for us, but it's not helpful for us in terms of our creativity. So, creativity tools are there to break. They're there to break these particular patterns of thinking that we actually have. And they've been around. They've been around for many, many, many years. 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And they work, okay? And they absolutely work. They break these particular patterns of thinking, and these patterns of thinking that we have are so easy. They're so easy for us to establish. In fact, they're so easy, I'm going to do a little experiment with all of you in this room right now, okay? So I'm going to see if we can create a little established pattern of thinking, all right? And to do that, I need you all to stand up. If you all stand up, that would be excellent. Okay, fantastic. Very good indeed. Right, okay. What I need you to do, okay, I need you to raise your right arm, palm, okay, the palm facing, okay, facing the person on your right. Okay, very good. And then with your left hand, get the point of your finger, okay, and kind of push it into the palm of the person who's actually standing next to you, okay? If you're on the end, don't worry. If you can find someone's palm or find someone's finger, excellent. Stretch your head, shuffle along. Right, now, when I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. And on the word go, I want you to do two things simultaneously. One is I want you to try and grab the finger of the person on your right, but at the same time, I want you to try and get the finger away from the person who's trying to grab it. Okay, you ready? Everyone up for this? 1, 2, 3, go! Oh. There's some experts. I can see some experts in the room. Okay, let's do it again. Up again. Okay. All right, you ready? Right, okay. 1, 2, 3, go! Whoa! There's some interesting things happening over in that row. Right, okay. Let's do it one more time. Come on. You ready? Really concentrate. 1, 2, 3, go! Oh. I think there's some cheating going on. Right, okay, one more. Let's go. One more. 1, 2, 3, everybody ready? Oh. Didn't even say go then. Excellent. Right, come on. 1, 2, 3, and go! Cool, right, just stay standing for a moment. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like to put your left hand up, and I want you to put your right finger out. Now, before we do that, how does that feel? It feels weird. Just stay like that for a moment. It feels weird. I've asked you to do it the other way around just 4 times. 4 times, and already our brains and our bodies are establishing a pattern of thinking. 4 times it took for you to go, oh yeah, your body, you're not consciously about it, your body's working this out. Yeah, I can do this better, I can go on 3, then I can grab it. You're already there, you're already working it out, okay? 4 times, and already we're creating an established pattern of thinking, okay? So let's see if we can do it the other way around. Which way around? Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Oh. Okay, sit down. 4 times, already established pattern of thinking. Imagine you're doing something hundreds of times, thousands of times, okay? That's how established our patterns of thinking happen as human beings. Therefore, we need to try to find ways to break that at certain times so that we can generate the kind of creativity that actually moves us forward. Now, these creative tools work, okay? They work really, really successfully. As Ryan very kindly says, we use them daily with organizations to help them create new and exciting new products, new services, new ways of actually doing things. It's great. Challenge for me, though, is that sometimes it makes me a little bit sad, okay? And the reason why it makes me a little bit sad, I'm in the business of creativity, is that in all of this generation of stuff, and there's lots of stuff, and it's good stuff, okay, most of it, on our planet, we are still facing some of the most extreme and biggest challenges. We still have hunger in the world and poverty. We now have, interestingly and contrastingly, obesity on the rise. Just over a week ago, I don't need to remind you what happened. There is now huge amounts of extremism in the world that we are facing. The world is getting more challenging. The challenges which you are facing as a world are getting more extreme. And the bit that makes me sad is that we've had all these creativity tools and techniques for many, many, many years, but we're still not finding solutions. So this talk is about maybe we've got some extreme challenges. Maybe we need a little bit of extreme creativity to make it happen. So you start thinking, wow, extreme creativity, we need some new tools. Great, let's find them. Tell you what, De Bono came up with 6 thinking hats, 7 thinking hats. That's extreme. Wow, that's going to solve the world. But before we do that, let's just pause for a moment, because there are some parts of our society, maybe a little bit like this mat, a little bit on the edge, where perhaps we can start thinking to get some of our stimulation. I love this slide. That's still, but it kind of vibrates, doesn't it? It kind of vibrates at you. Okay, let's jump into some other areas where perhaps people have introduced stimulus to give them that little bit of making new connections in different ways. Okay, let's take music, for example. We've had lots of musicians here today. It's argued, okay, it is argued, that some of the greatest pieces of music, certainly modern music, people and greatest bands, people like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, even the Beatles, Rolling Stones, etc., the best music and most creative music was done whilst they were under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Okay, it's argued. It's argued, and actually academics have done studies where they've studied their sort of alcohol and drug-crazed albums, compared them with those that are clean, and they've concluded in their studies that they were more creative while under the influence. Go right back into history, okay? Poets, Shelley, Keats, Byron, all used opium as part of their regular creativity, okay? What about other things then? What about things like putting people into extreme danger or extreme pain? Extreme danger is really quite interesting. People have done what we call, people have rescued, sort of, if you like, loved ones from underneath cars that have collapsed on top of them. They're able to lift. They do this thing, what's called hysterical strength. So in other words, the situation is so dire that something inside them takes over, and they are able to do amazing acts. So there's something about, if we could perhaps change and alter how we view and how our minds are working, maybe we could do some stuff. Maybe we could use this as a way to be more creative. The problem with these techniques is that we start to get a bit uncomfortable with them. Okay, we run creativity sessions for lots of organizations, big and small, all of that. It's going to be difficult, maybe doing creativity sessions where we're saying, fine, absolutely excellent. What you need to do is take this drug and off we go, all right? It starts to get a bit risky. We start to get uncomfortable with it. Sport, really interesting, but it's also a bit hypocritical. Bodybuilding is quite interesting. Bodybuilding, actually, the use of steroids is encouraged. Okay, and managed, because, well, it's in there, so we need to manage it. We need to be able to how to hold this and be able to do it in a proper and safe way. Okay, there are other sports, too, that you see up there, where it's not, okay? But take cycling or running. It's not okay to have doping, but it is okay to train at altitude, which does exactly the same thing. Oh, but that's natural, that is. You know, you go up and train up in a load of mountains, and then you come down, and then you run. So we're all topsy-turvy about all of these different things. So I guess, for me, I'm going, can we not do some of this bad stuff? Can we not take some of this bad stuff and start channeling it in to some of the good stuff? So, what could we use then? Let's start with something really safe that everyone thinks, yeah, fine, we can do that. What about food? Stanford University's done extensive studies on the fact that, actually, if you eat certain things, okay, you can become more creative. Steve Jobs, interestingly, said that a lot of his creativity, he felt, was because he had a very high fruit diet. Okay, so, well, fruit, that's okay, let's do that. Okay, what about that? Let's introduce that. Then what about other things that we use regularly already? Caffeine. Caffeine, I think, is a really interesting drug. It's the only drug I know that there's no age limit. There's no age limit for caffeine. Okay? You can serve it to your little children if you want to. Okay? All right? Not that I'm suggesting that. Okay? Interesting thing about caffeine is actually it enables you to do tasks much more quickly. It's not so great for creativity. Okay? But what else have we got? What about alcohol? This is interesting. A Danish brewer, and it would be a Danish brewer, of course, has created this drink called the Problem Solver. Okay? Called the Problem Solver. It is a beer. It is 7.1% proof, okay, which is apparently exactly to give you that 2 pints. You know the old 2-pint rule? Go out with your friends after 2 pints. Well, after 2 pints, I'm on the floor, of course. But for most people, after 2 pints, they're at their most kind of chatty, creative self. All right? So they've introduced a beer which does exactly that. It replicates that. So alcohol, okay, yeah, okay, maybe. But what about getting a little bit more risky, a little bit more extreme, a little bit more dangerous? Marijuana. Marijuana now is legal in many, many, many countries, and certainly many states across the United States. Yet we're still uneasy about it. Marijuana releases dopamine into the bloodstream, causes euphoria, but also a state of calmness. Those are the 2 ingredients for if you want to do a bit more extreme creativity. What about performance-enhancing drugs? Could we, or should we, create... Remember that film everybody's seen, with Bradley Cooper called Limitless? Okay, he's got that little crystal, takes that crystal and turns into a superstar. Okay, could we not push on in that area? What about other things? Things that we don't need to eat or smoke or all of that kind of stuff. What about aggression? Okay, aggression. We did an experiment where we got all these academics who are not known to be very aggressive. Okay, and we put them in a room. We got them to paint pictures of their academic institution and stick them on cardboard boxes. Okay, we then gave them inflatable hammers and we said we want to smash them up. And they were very cautious. Ooh, I'll smash that very gently. But then literally after 5 minutes, they're jumping up and down and shouting, I hate where I work. Right, we then channeled that aggression into, right, I want some ideas for where you do want to work. What do you want this academic institution to do? And the ideas flowed. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, channeling a state into something positive, channeling a negative state into something positive. Okay, what about something that is positive already? What about things like happiness? Already studies have shown that if you make people happy, they're more creative. Okay, they've got groups of people. It sounds sensible anyway. Groups of people where they got them all to watch comedy films. Okay, then got them to be creative, watching horror films. Then got them to be creative, and they found that those who are in a happy state of mind actually performed much, much better. What else could we do? What about extreme relaxation? Don't you just want to get in there? Don't you just want to lie in there? Looks great. Flotation tanks. You take away 1 sense, okay, through the flotation. You get into an extreme relaxation state, and again, studies. There's a guy called Peter Sudfield, an American, did studies of flotation tanks, and he reckoned 90 minutes in a flotation tank would give you that a sort of a 10-15% increase in your creative capabilities. All of this is all possible, okay? And we need to start thinking about how to tap in to these new ways and these new forms of creativity. So, what do you think the perfect situation would be then for extreme creativity? Well, maybe for me, might be yoga, all right? Yoga whilst having a drink of beer, whilst watching Father Ted videos, okay? That's what I would like. If you don't like Father Ted, choose your comedy of choice. And it could be flotation tank full of fruit, which I'm frantically eating, and then I have to fight my way out of it, and then I'm creative. All of these are different techniques. And we could go more extreme. And the question is whether the world or whether we as a society would care. Perhaps if we did inflict drugs or pain in a safe and legal way, would we end up with warning signs on some of the solutions? Danger. This solution has been created using extreme creativity techniques. Would we care if it ended obesity? Would we care if it actually began to bring an end to war and extremism? I don't know. Challenge for us then is the talk is about we're faced with extreme challenges. What we need is extreme creativity to tackle those challenges. What we need is some tools, some techniques. We need to harness some of the bad stuff, which we sometimes, perhaps in our safe world, go, well, it's a bit on the edge for us. We need to harness that and channel it into some of the good. So, the challenge for all of us is to think creatively about how we are creatively, to go to the edge of our comfort zones in terms of what we use, in terms of how to be creative. And maybe finally, the big challenge is for the pharmaceutical companies, is for the fruit growers, is for the comedy sketch writers, or maybe the flotation tank designers. They need to start thinking about creativity. They need to help us to be more extremely creative, because at the moment, the world is in desperate need of it. Thank you.